Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is A Woman's Prerogative. You're probably saying, wait, I thought it's on Mondays. It is on Mondays, and it happens to be on today as well. So please do join us. Our topic is monetizing coaching. And we know many of you out there are coaches. I'm a coach. The star of our show is a coach. Let's really get into how do we monetize what it is that we do so that we can truly bring value. Let's welcome the star of our show joining us from New Zealand. It's a day later. She's a transformation and leadership coach. She's also a #1 best-selling author. It's Mariska Du Preez. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm still getting used to the whole best-selling author thing.
I know, it's fabulous. And by the way, I checked on our 5th book in the Lady Ella series, and it's still #1 as of this morning. So, yay. And Lady Ella has her own website as well. So we'll be talking about that later.
Lady Ella is going places.
She is definitely going places. Mariska, tell us a little bit about the work that you do as a certified coach.
Ooh, okay. So as a certified coach, I really enjoy working with clients that go through some form of transformational element, especially within the career space. So moving from either a specialization into leadership, that can be very transformational for most people, as well as when we are moving within the leadership space and going up into the different areas within leadership, that also comes with all sorts of new challenges and new ways that we need to be thinking about what it is that we do and how we lead the people that we are, well, leading. So that is typically what I do within the coaching space and the clients that I work with. Then, of course, there's also corporates that I work with, and there's other platforms that I work with, and I also do some pro bono coaching. So what we have here in New Zealand is there is a wonderful group of people that is called Springboard Trust, and they help school leaders. Now, within that space, school leaders, typically there's a lot of educational type of development that schools do for the different teachers and leaders. And they don't always look at a school from a business point of view. So the Springboard Trust got a whole bunch of a community together, basically, with people from all walks of life, to help the school leaders within their space to up-level themselves and to run their schools more effectively for their whole community. So I also coach in that space, and it is so much fun being able to coach people that typically within my normal space, I don't necessarily get them come in for coaching sessions as often. So it is good to see how within the coaching space, we can also do this in other areas that we don't necessarily typically work in, or people that we typically work with. So yeah, that's what I do within coaching.
Thank you so much. That's very comprehensive. I love it. So one thing I just want to start off talking about, because it's really obvious. If you go to LinkedIn, somebody told me there's 6 million coaches out there. Everybody's a coach. Everybody's leaving corporate and becoming a coach. And that's great. We hope everybody does well. You happen to be certified. I'm certified, but you are certified to a different level. Talk about that certification and why it was important, is important to you.
So one of the things to take into consideration, especially within the coaching realm and self-development, so I'm going to lump them together a little bit, is that it is not a regulated environment. So as you mentioned, Dr. Jacalyn, there's a whole bunch of people that have coach on their LinkedIn profile. Now, I want you to take that coach with a pinch of salt, because all coaches are not necessarily created equal. Some of them have gone through extensive training, and some of them did a weekend course somewhere and now call themselves coach. So there's different ways of looking at this thing. Now, because I have a background in engineering, which is a regulated field, and it's also a very old field. Now, coaching is not. Coaching is a lot younger, and coaching is definitely not regulated. So understanding what type of training it is that the person, so if you are a buyer of coaching and you would like to get yourself a coach, it's a really good idea to sort of see either where they got their training from, what sort of credentialing they have behind them, in order to ensure for ourselves that we know what the standard of coaching is that this person will be providing. It's almost like when you think about, I don't know, going to a healthcare provider. Now we can go to a doctor, and typically doctors have specific things that they need to go through, and they need to be certified and all the rest of it. And we might go to a different type of doctor. So for instance, in South Africa, you can get witch doctors. Now, yes, it also has a doctor next to it. It is not necessarily a certified type of medical professional. So understanding what you are getting is very, very important when you look for a coach. And that's where the certification comes in. So currently, there's a few bodies within the coaching space that provide a standard or a process that they take the people that is affiliated with that body through. ICF is one of these bodies. So ICF stands for International Coaching Federation, and they are especially very big in the US. So within the US, a lot of the coaches that you will get will be ICF accredited. Not all, because remember, there's a few million. So most probably not all of them, but a big number of good coaches that you can actually trust as being proper certified coaches will be within that body. And then there are a few different ones in Europe. I'm not sure exactly about the abbreviations or the exact names. So I know that there's the, I think it's the Mentor and Coaching Federation. I'm speaking under correction because I can really not remember the exact name. That is one of the bigger ones within Europe. Now, all of these federations or all of these bodies are, as I said, some of them are more pronounced in some areas than others, and most of them are international. So when you look at any one of them that feel like this is something that I'm drawn to more, then absolutely go and have a look on their website, see what sort of ethical standards they abide by. So typically what you will see is with all these bodies, they have ethics that they abide by. Now, because coaching is not regulated, like for instance, therapy, the ethics is per body. So they might change a little bit. They might have a few nuances within them. The major things are typically similar. And that I would, if I were a buyer of coaching, or if I wanted to become a coach, that would be the very first thing that I would look at. Because of the non-regulation element within coaching, even if a person, for instance, went to, I don't know, one of the universities and they studied coaching with a university, right? That's wonderful. They have a good comprehensive knowledge of it. Now, coaching is also one of those things where it is good to get practice. Now, for most of the bodies out there, they have some practice element within their certification. To give you an idea of the ICF, that is the body that I am certified with. When you have an ACC coach within the ICF, you will know that that coach has at least 100 hours of physical coaching experience, right? So they have worked with people and accumulated at least 100 hours of physical experience. If you get a PCC coach, it will be over and above 500. And if you work with an MCC coach, it will be over and above, I think it's 2,500 hours. So you can see how the different levels of coaching also makes a difference in the not only amount of people that they work with, but also the amount of hours that they have spent in their craft. And coaching is a craft. Like you would have an artisan within the engineering field or within a bakery or any other field where you need to learn a specific skill set. There's a reason why we need to go through a time period where we are working within this skill set, because we build our own skills within that space. We get to understand the nuances and how it is that we show up for the other person, how it is that different clients might maybe impact us. And coaching is also one of those spaces where we are continuously learning. We are learning stuff from our clients. We are learning stuff about ourselves. We are learning things about the environment in which our client and we are functioning. So it is a continuous learning environment. And when you are part of one of these bodies, that's also encouraged. So part of what you need to do to keep your credentialing up to date is to show the areas in which you learn. So that is also very similar to any other regulated type of industry. So I know, for instance, in engineering, if there is a specific thing, for us to be able to also keep our engineering credentials up to speed, there's certain trainings that we need to show that we do in order to show that we are aware of new technologies that come out or different things that happen within that field. The same with doctors. I mean, we really don't want to have a doctor from, I don't know, the 1800s trying to operate on you with modern day equipment. It's most probably not going to work out very well. And the same go within the coaching space and the self-development space, because there's continuously new things that research finds out that happens within that space. And for us to really do a good job of coaching, it is a great way for us to keep up with all the things that's being developed and new understanding that we create within that space. So that for me is really important, is looking at a body we can be part of when we are thinking of stepping into the coaching space, in order to back ourselves a little bit more. And yes, your clients might not ask for it, and it is not necessarily for them to ask, because a lot of people don't understand the nuance of coaching. As Dr. Jacalyn mentioned, there's literally a few coaches out there that might not have the credentialing. They might say coach next to the title. And yeah, great, they ask a couple of questions and then they give you advice. That is not coaching, right? That's not what my understanding of coaching is. That is also not what the ICF's understanding of coaching is. So really understanding what it is that you get from your coach, if you were to be a buyer of coaching, is really important. So this advice literally goes for people that want to step into coaching, as well as people that is looking for a coach. Make sure that you can have a bit of a look at what sort of credentialing they have, what bodies they affiliate with, and have a look at the body itself in order for you to satisfy your own inquiry around, would this person not only be a personal match, but they will also actually help me out with what I need help with. So yes, I hope that was helpful, and a lot.
That was a lot of information, but that was good. And for people who don't know, you and I actually met, as I mentioned, in a coaching program, and we got to act out role plays together. And then you actually became my coach. And I think that it's really important, because it's one thing to be a coach and give coaching. I think I had maybe 4 coaching sessions today already with people who are coaches, and we basically exchange, we help each other. I help you, you help me, etc. In order to monetize it is a completely different process. And I think this is where many people get tripped up about, how do I actually take what it is I'm doing and then make a living from it? I know for myself that during the pandemic, I had clients who were coaching clients, and they couldn't afford to pay. So I basically was coaching people for free, because I felt so badly about what everyone was going through. And then, of course, I felt badly about me giving my time, and I've got bills to pay, and there has to be a fine line. So what would you say in your experience, because you are a full-time coach? I'm also a coach, but I'm also doing this television platform, and I'm also spending a lot of time doing some other projects. So for somebody who's in it full-time, how do you make that differentiation about, okay, I'll help you, I'm not going to charge, to I am going to charge?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, remember, coaching itself is the it's like when we think about a carpenter, right? A carpenter can make beautiful furniture. Maybe they specialize in making kitchen furniture. So they make beautiful benches, and they have all these beautiful things that they can make, and that's their craft. So for coaching, that's your craft. That's the thing that you bring. Now, for it to be monetized, we need to look at the business piece of it. So when you are a coach, there's also, as like when you are a carpenter, you can go into business for yourself, or you can use your skill at somebody else's business. So maybe you become an employee for a business that fits kitchens out, or they specialize in renovation, so you renovate kitchens, whatever the case might be. So it's really around figuring out what suits you as a human being best. Do you want to set up your own business and then realize that's a different element? It is setting up a business and then finding clients around that portion versus going and working for an organization where they basically pay you for your skill set. So first of all, understanding that you have different ways that you can approach monetizing coaching. You can also, one of the other elements around coaching is only using the coaching skills. So you can, for instance, move within your leadership space and then go, well, I also want to be able to utilize my coaching skills, go for some training, get some coaching skills, not necessarily be a coach, as in this is my full-time job, but utilize it within that space because it's still a skill set that you can learn and you utilize within that space as well. So understanding what it is that you want to get out of it, I would say would be, well, section number 1. So as Dr. Jacalyn said, she massages her coaching into everything else that she does. So it's not a standalone process for her. It is within her bigger business portfolio. So you can do that. Or you can specialize within coaching. Now, for most coaches, it's a little bit like when you think about a therapist, right? So if we think about a therapist having their own practice, that would basically be the same as a coach having their own practice. So we need to set up a practice or a business for being a coach, and that is then where you will be utilizing your coaching skills. Now, that for some people are a little bit more tricky, and of course there's a variety of ways to go about that, right? And it really depends on where your energy lies, what it is that you feel that you really want to be achieving and doing in the world and for yourself. So thinking about your coaching practice, do you want to work with individuals? So you need to do maybe social media advertising and those sort of things to get individuals into your practice. Is that the type of practice that you want to set up? Or would you rather want to work with corporates? Now, there's a different process of going into working with corporates and working within that space. There, you might need less clients because you have corporate clients, right? So you might have 3 or 4 businesses that you work with, but within the businesses, there might be, I don't know, anything between 10 and 100 people that you work with, depending on how you've set up that relationship. So that looks different to a person working with one-on-one customers from a different portion. So we might think about a coach specializing in health, and they work with one-on-one clients. So working with one-on-one clients, how to get them, how to set up the contracts with them, that looks quite different than a coach that would work in corporates where they basically then have 2 clients. So you have your corporate client as the business itself, and then you have your coaching client, which is the different people within that organization that you coach. So the things that you need to think about in that space also differs a little bit from the things that you need to think about when you work with one-on-one clients. So that's really the considerations. And then, of course, thinking about how you want to set up your business. Because remember, now when you want to monetize it, it becomes a business venture. You are now a coach in the sense of that is your specific thing that you bring to the table, your service. And you are also an entrepreneur and you are running business. And that is typically, for most coaches, the element that they struggle with and the element that they do not take into consideration. So for a lot of coaches, they think, oh yeah, well, I'll start this coaching thing and I'll just be coaching people and they'll pay me for it. Yes, and you need to ensure that you understand how business work. How do you actually set up your business? What makes sense for you within your business? How does all these other elements like marketing and sales and all of those things, how does that work? Right? So taking that into consideration for a lot of people, that's sort of where the tar meets the road, and also all the things fall out of the little wagon, because we think that, oh yeah, I can go and I can get my certification and then I'm off, I'm a coach. It's not how it works. You still need to set up the business piece of it. And the business piece of it actually becomes a lot more than only just the coaching. So you're going to gain marketing skills, you're going to gain sales skills, you are going to gain a whole variety of different skills in order to set up a business. And then it really becomes around, what does that business look like for you? As Dr. Jacalyn mentioned, business for her looks like incorporating a whole bunch of different things, because that's what works for her. Business for another coach might look different. So it's really around figuring out what best works for you as an individual and whether that approach is the one that you want to take and makes most sense for you within that space. So yes, Dr. Jacalyn, that's what I can think of at the moment.
I like it. That was very good. It's a lot of good information for people to take away from that. And the whole point of making it a business, and even authors, for example, we interview a lot of authors. You and I are both authors. It's a business in and of itself. And I know for me, I'm not a full-time author. You're not a full-time author, but there are people out there who they've quit their corporate or whatever it was they're doing, and now they figured out a way to really monetize it. So one thing I want to talk about, because this is something that was brought to my attention a number of years ago, is you can offer something in the singular, meaning you could offer one coaching session. As we all know, probably one session is not going to change anything in your life because you're making a commitment to an hour or so. So packaged offerings seem to be a better way to go. What are your thoughts or your philosophy about offering a package?
I would definitely say within the coaching space, so understanding how in our human nature, how we work and what works best for us, if there is something that we want to change, it typically doesn't happen with one conversation. We need to have some reoccurrence of some sort. So think about, for instance, going to a therapist, right? So going to a therapist, we might have 2 or 3 or 10, whatever the case might be, sessions to work through whatever the thing is that we work through. Now, when you think about a coaching session, typically for most people, it makes more sense to have a couple of sessions. Now, it might be that the person said, well, okay, this is the big thing that I want to be working on. This is the big thing I'm working through. And then you and the person, so if I were to be the coach, me and the person that I am then having this conversation with will determine what would make most sense for them looking at the goal that they have. So within that space, then we determine what sort of coaching package would make sense for them to have. I know other coaches has standard packages. So they would say, okay, I have a package of 5 sessions that it sounds like this thing that you are working with, 5 sessions would sort of cover that. And then maybe if it's something a little bit bigger, a little bit more audacious that they want to work on, or they have more inner struggles that they need to work through to do the thing that they want to be doing, maybe 10 sessions would work, or 20 sessions, whatever the case might be. So for some people, they set up specific packages and say, okay, this is what I have, this is what I have, and this is what I have. And then for other people, they adjust it according to what the need is that the person come to them with. Having one coaching conversation, typically for a lot of coaches, there is an introduction session that they have of sorts. They call it by a variety of different names, and those will typically be a very short free session. It is good to have these in the sense that if I were to be the client, I get to see whether what works with this coach. Do I actually enjoy speaking to them? Do I feel open that I can speak to them? Is there connections that I can make? Does this person's approach work for me? Now, everybody's approach won't work for everyone. That's just human nature. That's the way that we work. Now, for some people, they need a coach that literally drives them, right? They want somebody that continuously drives them. And if that's what they need, and the coach is a lot more laid back and they sort of go with the flow, then that's not the type of coach that person needs. For other people, they need space for them to think. Now, for most of us, if we have more clarity, it's a lot easier to do the thing, whatever the thing is that we want to do. And we need some space to think. Now, sometimes for some people, we need more space than others. And if we have a coach that don't provide that space in order for us to think through whatever it is that we need to think through, that might not be the coach for us. So understanding what it is that we need to also function our best, it just helps us to make it a little bit easier to determine what type of coach it is that we would like to engage with within that space. And Dr. Jacalyn, I have now totally forgotten your question, so I'm going to wrap it up there.
Well, the question was about packages. So what about some add-ons, meaning a client typically, at least in my experience, will need some additional tools to help them. Mm-hmm. So what kinds of tools can you provide to your clients that you can also offer at a price?
Oh, tools. Well, what I would typically do, so personally what I do is I include all of that into the package. So the package isn't an hourly rate package. The package is, this is the package and these are all the things that's included in it. And that would include stuff like resources, email support, things like that. Now, it might be that as a coach, you want to set up your business different and you want to be able to have some add-ons. So if there is, I would suggest if you have something specific that you have developed, so a way of thinking about it that you developed yourself, or something that the client can use, a specific model or something that is very unique to what you offer, that might be onto an add-on package. Other elements around add-ons, especially within the corporate space and the leadership space, are things like 360s. So a 360 is where we get input from people that also see this person's daily behaviors and activities more readily than we do. So say, for instance, the client asked for a 360. My discussion with them would be, okay, so who would you like to give you feedback, and what specific feedback is it that we are looking for from this person? So being very intentional about how we utilize our 360 and then going around and getting the feedback. So this might be an add-on. So it's not typically part of the package, but if you want a 360, we can do that. If we say we do it for 5 people, this is the cost. If we do it for 10 people, this is the cost. If you want to do it for 20 people, this is the cost. And of course, because you have conversations with those people, the cost will increase because it is more time and energy in disseminating whatever the information is that you got from them. So that might be an add-on that you decide on. And then, as Dr. Jacalyn said, if there's any resources, personally, I would say if it is a specific self-developed resource, yes, by all means, add-on makes sense. If it is a resource that you got from somewhere else, try and see whether you can include that into your package pricing as a general, for any resources I share, that's included in my pricing, and you don't have to worry about it, because as a coach, you will typically also find that your clientele, the people that you normally enjoy working with, have specific problems or have specific areas that they want to focus on. So you will gather a whole library of different resources that you can then share with them that might not have been developed by you. So that would be my overall overview for resources.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We are almost at the end of the show already. It's just flown by. So to summarize, for someone out there who's thinking, okay, I want to get into the coaching business, what are the first steps that you would recommend before they make any forward advancement?
Well, if you want to go into the coaching business, what I would first suggest is determining what type of business it is that you want to go into. Is it something that you're going to run for yourself, or do you want to work for an organization, maybe being an internal coach? So that would be the first thing to take into consideration. I would also really think about what it is within that space that draws you into it. Because, and the reason why I'm saying this is, with any type of skill set that we learn, whether it is coaching, whether it is carpentry, whether it is baking bread, if we don't have a passion for the thing that it is that we do, if there's not a central core thing that we feel, I'm drawn to this thing, we won't continue improving and doing that thing to our best ability. And if that is missing, the likelihood, if we said we want to start a business and we want it to be a coaching business, is that it will not most probably be the greatest idea, because at some point we'll be like, okay, this is very difficult, too hard, basket, I'm not doing it anymore. And then we might have learned a whole bunch of things, hopefully, along the way, and also pay the price in time that we will literally not get back. So being very clear for ourselves what around this thing it is that we want to be doing. And then the next element of it would be, okay, so how can I set myself up for success? Whether that might be looking at the different coaching industry guys that can help you with your accreditation, whether that might be looking at how to develop business itself, whatever the thing is that it is that you need to look at. And typically what I have found, now coaches is a great community for me. I love coaches. And the reason I love coaches is all the coaches that I personally know and the groups in which I have been interacting all want to learn more. They want to help others. So it is a very helping industry. And saying that, there is some pitfalls that we might need to think through if we want to also bring this into a monetizing environment. So really thinking through that for ourselves up front and being very clear as to what our plan of action or plan of attack is around what we want to be doing will help us in the long run to make this a reality. So I think that would be my main points. And then, of course, as I said, you can always learn coaching skills and use them in other areas of your life to enhance the relationships that you have. So it's not necessarily that you need to monetize your coaching. You can also utilize coaching within your leadership skills, at home with the children, literally anywhere you want to. But also, I don't think the kids will pay you if you coach them. So just a caveat there.
Thank you, my dear friend. This has been so much fun. How can people hire you and work with you?
Ooh, well, you can reach out and get hold of me via my email. So my email is mariska@journey2discover.com. Or alternatively, you can also find me on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, you can private message me there and we can connect and start our conversation. Would love to do that. And of course, as I mentioned earlier on the program, I typically work with people going through transitions. So if you are a specialist and you want to move into or have already moved into a leadership position and want to understand this humanness thing a little bit better, do contact me. And if you are already in a leadership position and moving up into leadership, taking into consideration all those other nuances and elements that you haven't quite taken into consideration as yet, also contact me and we can work towards your goals of being a fabulous, thriving human being that also makes the rest of the ocean rise with you.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And your Talking Heads episode is coming up at the top of the hour. So everybody who's out there, please stay tuned. We'll be taking a brief break and then Mariska will be back. So I want to give a shout out to Diane Floyd-Boehm, who is the sponsor of this program. Thank you, Diane, for your sponsorship. Let's take a look at one of Diane's clips and then we'll be off the air for just about 15 minutes. Thank you so much.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd-Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at dianefloydboehm.com. Visit dianefloydboehm.com. That's dianefloydboehm.com.